Listen, if you're anything like me, then you know what it is to feel like you're in prison. You may not have been in prison where the bars are physical and where the bars are made of metal, but if you're like me, you understand what it feels like to feel like you're in prison. To feel like you are behind bars, especially as it pertains to wanting to move forward and wanting to execute your vision or wanting to do what you feel like you've been placed here to do, or to pursue and achieve your goals. For whatever reason, you feel like you're in prison. And though those bars are not made of metal, and though you're not physically restrained from doing the things that you want to do, there is a certain thing that is a sort of the prison of the mind. And in that prison of the mind, the bars are not necessarily made of metal, but the bars are made of fear. And the bars are made of doubt. And the bars are made of imposter syndrome. And the bars are made of worry or anxiety, or doing too much consideration of what people might think of you, or whatever the case may be. But even though those bars are not physical, those bars are still very real. And today, I just hope to encourage somebody to recognize first that you are in that mental, spiritual, emotional prison of your mind, but also to kind of direct you to the keys. Because unlike a physical prison, in the prison of your mind, in most situations, the keys are available to you. You just have to know where they are. You have to know how to get to them and how to pick them up and use them. So in this video, I'm going to make it real simple. It's going to be simply 5 steps for escaping the prison of your mind. And without further ado, let's just jump right in. So step number 1 is know your why. Know your why. And in a lot of cases, it's not just a why, but it's also a who. In my case, I know that I've felt for a long time that I've really had something to say. I felt for a long time, or I really know that God has given me a gift to speak, to share with the world, to help those who he may put underneath the sound of my voice. And the longer that I've put that off, you know, obviously the longer it's going to take me to get out of that prison of my mind. But let's jump right into step 1. Step number 1 is know your why. And this is one that seems very cliche, or very, I guess, very obvious, but it's one that's very necessary. And sometimes it's not just a why, but also a who. And in my situation, I'm a father of 3. I have 3 young kids. And I know I won't always be here with them. But one thing I want to leave behind is a legacy of not just money or wealth, is a legacy of wisdom. And one of those ways I can do that is by archiving myself via video, and hopefully it'll be there for them to see when I'm no longer here. But I also do want to leave an inheritance, as it says in God's word, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children. And I don't want to be somebody who leaves my kids just wisdom, just practical wisdom and knowledge, but I also want to leave them something that will help them build from a foundation that's already in progress. I don't want them to have to build their own foundation and then have to build upon that foundation. I want to leave something for them. To add to that, my son is special needs. So in a lot of ways, he won't be able to put his hand to the plow in the way that I can. And so it is irresponsible of me to not use the gifting God has given me in order to push forward and to do all I can to achieve my goals, because they're not just for me, and they're not just for the world to hear or be encouraged by, but they're also for him and for my 2 daughters. And so I want to take up my cross, if you will. I want to take up my mantle, put my hand to the plow, and do everything I can to leave this earth empty. I want to leave my kids with something. So my why is my kids and my family. I want to be a blessing to my family, and I also want to be a blessing to people on earth. If you really think about it, you were built for a time such as this. It's not an accident that you are here, in my case, in America, where I have the freedom to say and do what I want to do. It's no coincidence that that's the case. It's no coincidence that I was born in the internet era. There's no coincidence that I have the access to the technology that I have access to. And it's also not lost on me that everyone doesn't have these freedoms, even in our world today. And so the more resources that I can build for myself, the more I can help myself, my family, but also to help people that need assistance. And because I want to be that help, I know I can be of no use or little use to people if I don't have resources to then put toward good causes. And so these are my whys. Number two, people are waiting on you. There are people waiting on you. There are people who will benefit from your story, who will benefit from the trials and challenges that you've gone through, who will benefit from your voice. But if you remain silent and remain in that prison of your mind, then your voice won't be heard. I have a mentor of mine who spoke some words to me here recently that really lit the fire even further underneath me. And that was, he said, I'm very concerned for you because the devil, the enemy wants to keep you silent because the potential for your voice is far reaching. The message that you have to share has the potential to be great. And I've had a lot of people speak to me in ways over my life that have confirmed that the gifting God has given me is real and legitimate, but I've still been reluctant to move forward. And so I'm well aware that the time is now. The time is now for me to be the pillar that others can lean on for refuge and understanding and support. And it's also time for me to be that beacon of light in the lives of people who need it in this dark world. And so for you, just remember, people are waiting on you. If you build it, they will come. If you speak it, they will listen and they will be encouraged and they will be helped. But if you remain silent, all those people who are waiting on you will go without what they need. And the bottom line is no one can say what you have to say the way you can say it. People may have gone through something similar as you, but not the exact same. And their perspective is not the exact same as your perspective. And so just know people are waiting on you and it's time for you to answer the call. The third step is to understand that suppressing your dreams crushes your spirit. Suppressing your dreams suppresses your spirit. And so the longer that you have this dream inside of you and this ability and gift inside of you, and you do nothing to let it out, it suppresses your spirit. It brings a sort of anxiety, a sort of sadness and melancholy, because you know yourself that there's something that you need to be doing that you're not doing. And as the days go by, that weighs heavier and heavier on your spirit. And the only way to start lifting your spirit in that case is to start doing, is to hit record on that video, is to make that art, is to step into that role that you know is for you. And until you do that, your spirit will be suppressed. You will have a sadness. Even in your moments of joy, your joy can't be full because you're not using what God placed inside of you to put into the world. And so don't suppress your spirit. It's like Big Worm said to Smokey. He said, man, playing with my money is like playing with my emotions. So don't be your own big worm in your life, because when you play with your own gifting, when you suppress your own gifting, when you suppress what God has given into you, you suppress your emotions. You suppress your effectiveness. And so get up, hit record, get that pencil, get that computer, and stop suppressing your gifts. Because when you suppress your gifts, you suppress your spirit. The fourth step to getting out of that mental prison is to understand that fear makes a terrible leader. Fear makes a terrible leader. There was someone who once said that, courage is not the absence of fear. There are not many people, if any, on this earth who don't experience fear. But courage is the commitment to not allowing fear to control you. So you don't have to be some fearless person to have courage, but what you do have to do is make the commitment to not allowing fear to take you off the path of achieving what you were put here to achieve. You have to make sure that fear will not be an obstacle that will keep you off of the path to achieving what you were meant to achieve, from helping who you were meant to help, and for building that foundation for those who are supposed to be able to build behind you. And so do not let fear lead you. Let your courage lead you. Let your understanding that God put you here for a reason. He gave you your gifts. He gave you your dreams. He gave you your desires to achieve that which will be good for yourself and for your family and for those who are waiting on you. So do not let fear lead you, because fear makes an awful leader. The fifth and final step that I'm going to share to get out of that prison and to get on your path to achieving, to escape that mental, spiritual prison is to understand that you were created to create. Listen, I'm a man of faith. I will never back down from that. And that is the main thing that I cling to. My faith, my God, that's who I cling to. That's why I am not worried about being sort of a late bloomer. I'm not worried about being someone who has not yet achieved everything I want to achieve, because I know that God can do in a year what it takes sometimes 20 years to build. And I believe that for you too, is that if you trust in God and you just move, you don't have to worry about the years that you lost, because he'll restore that. But you do have to get started. He's not going to just drop it there in your lap. That doesn't help you, but it will help you to trust him, trust whatever gifts he has put within you, and to move and give him something to work with so that he can show you that he's been waiting to bless you, but he has not been able to do so because you have not put forth the effort to allow him to then show up in your life on the journey with you. You were created to create. God is a creator, and he created you. And with you, he created a purpose for you. And in that purpose, he's given you gifts and tools to achieve that purpose. It's now up to you to understand that you were created to create, and that you were not created to fear the opinions of other people. You were not created to worry about what people will say about you and how they'll consider what you decided to do. No, let them do that. They'll do that anyway. You remember that you were created to create. You pick up those gifts and those tools and you get on your journey.